Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. So glad to have you here. And depending on where you are tuning in from, I hope you are having a great evening, great morning, great afternoon. And what I always loved to see is wherever you are watching from, I'd love for you to put live in the chat if you are watching live, or you can put replay if you're watching replay, or watching the replay, I should say. So I'm going to keep it a little more on the casual side today. I usually like to keep it pretty light, but give really great value on important topics regarding leading in the moment with Geronda, which welcome if anybody is new to the segment. Um, so I'm really going to go into something a little bit different. Many of you might know I'm giving a masterclass this Friday. I'm super excited about this masterclass. It is data driven inclusion, combining inclusive practices with decision excellence. And so I want to cover some questions that some of you have sent over to me. Many of you might have questions live right now today. So I want to make sure that I address the questions. If you're thinking about joining and maybe you're just not sure if this is the right fit for you or if you should be coming to something like this for a masterclass, which I say everybody is welcome. So if you have joined before in any one of my live segments, I always like to give a question of the day. Before I do so, if you are with me live, please put live in the chat. If you are watching the replay, please put replay. So the question I want to share with you is, before just jumping into the topic, it's a really good question that I got from the social experience, which Rakita Franklin is a CEO of, and she made these wonderful social experience cards. I highly recommend you get them. And one of the cards I pulled from the deck today is in what ways do you benefit from community? I thought this was a really impactful and important question, because sometimes your community is something that maybe you haven't been a part of in a while, you haven't reached out to in a while, you haven't participated in, and that's okay. But maybe this is time to reflect on, do I need more of my community? And that's something that I started thinking through the past couple of weeks, is that I've been in and out in my community for various personal reasons, but I feel like I benefit so much from the community that I'm a part of. And the ways that I benefit are just having like-minded people who understand some of the experiences that I may have gone through and can be very empathetic to them. But also having that commonality, it's also very helpful to be able to share my story and it be accepted. And people really respect the things that I am sharing. They are very open to feedback, open to seeing how I'm doing. Like, people check in on me, which is super nice. But I also think that what I benefit from a lot is feedback and directness. Everyone in this community is so caring and so accepting and so welcoming. And I always am able to say, hey, this is something I'm thinking through or something I'm going through. And it's not going to be sugar coated. It's not going to be, oh, that's so tough. I hope you get through it. It's, let's talk through this. Do you want to talk through this? I'm someone who needs to talk through things to really get to a good place and feeling like I can actually address something. And so my community benefits me so much in that way. So I very much appreciate you, community, and I hope you know who I'm talking about. So we are going to now jump into the topic. And if you are tuning in live, again, please put live in the chat. If you are watching the replay, please put replay. And so today, as I mentioned, I have a masterclass that's coming up on Friday. Masterclass is data-driven inclusion, combining inclusive practice with decision-making excellence. And I'm going to just go through some Q&A, some questions that were sent to me. Um, People have been asking, I want to attend this masterclass, but am I the right person to attend it? Or I really want to attend this masterclass, but I kind of understand the goal of it, but can you share more information about it so I know that this is something that I can be attending or should be attending? So I'm going to go through some of the questions that have been sent to me, that I very much appreciate being sent, and I'll go through them and answer them. And as you join, if you have questions that come up as well, please feel free to ask your questions. So the first question that I got was, what is the main focus of the masterclass? And really, the main focus of this masterclass, when you think about data driven inclusion, a lot of times companies will think that there is a one size fits all approach to building an inclusive culture. And what I mean by that is, if you're a small company in the tech industry, you might see something that Facebook or Google or, Meta or Google or Instagram or other companies have been doing for DEI, and you want to emulate that. But what's really important is you need to make sure you have the right data in place. You are asking and answering the right questions so that you can then make a more tailored approach for you to be able to move towards an inclusive culture and also business excellence for your organization. And so this masterclass, really the main focus is going through this really excellent auditing process and assessment process that's going to help you understand what are the right areas to focus on in terms of your policies, your systems, your practices, and asking the right questions and seeing and really leveraging a globally accepted process and practice that I'll share for you to go through every segment of your business and see, where are we in terms of our maturity for diversity, equity, and inclusion. If we have employee resource groups, for example, are we was this the right focus for us right now? Do we have a DEI strategy in place? And if we do, are we actually focusing on the right things to move ourselves in the right direction? And so that is really the big main focus of the masterclass. Then I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do that. And also, there'll be a nice gift at the end if you join live. So, joining live will get you a lot of really great benefit at the end as well. The next question that I got from the in regards to the masterclass was, who is a target audience for the masterclass? I had some people say, well, I'm not a DEI professional, so I don't know that I should attend. Even better if you're not a DEI professional. Nothing against you DEI professionals, I'm one as well. But if you are someone that is part of a DEI council, or you really care about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and maybe your company is new in the stages, you don't have to be an HR leader or a DEI professional. You can be a data analyst, you can be a manager, you can be an executive, you can be an individual contributor, and you can also be somebody who knows how to influence those that are responsible for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Excuse me, got a little tickle in my throat. Um, who's responsible for that segment of the business to be able to influence and say, this is why I find it important for myself, for you, for others to be attending this masterclass, um, because it's really suitable for anybody that is interested in learning how to effectively leverage your data to be able to make the right decisions for inclusive practices and building an inclusive culture. So really anybody is able to attend, so long as you are really willing to influence how DEI is brought about or implemented across the organization. Another question that I got was, what specific skills or knowledge am I going to gain from attending this? Which is a question I ask all the time, something that I look for when I go and attend master classes or webinars or courses. So I really appreciate this type of question. And really, it's the knowledge that you're going to gain are practices for how you can start thinking differently for inclusion across all segments of your business, and that uh, taking that practice and understanding in the right ways, how can I effectively collect, analyze, and interpret data and information to then make the right decisions on our priorities for an initiative, policy creation, updating policies, things of that nature for your organization. I know that sometimes we think that we can do engagement surveys and that'll give us all the information that we need. We can go to our employee resource groups that we create, and that can give us all the information that we need. And yes, that gives you a lot of really great, helpful, tangible information. but there's so much more that you need to look into and so much more that you need to evaluate. And if you don't know how to evaluate where you are in terms of your levels of maturity, which is like a level 1 to 4, and how effective you are in the work that you're doing for different parts of the business, it's going to be really hard to put together an effective strategy. And it's going to be really difficult to be able to push engagement and interest and make things happen in your organization. What I hear a lot is employee resource groups or diversity and inclusion councils or business resource groups will say, we were formed because our HR department did an analysis and did a representation analysis, and they saw that we had people from different identities and different roles, and there was interest in community, which I think is great. Build an employee resource group from that. But in terms of a sustainable structure, what's generally missing sometimes is an employee resource group or an ERG will say that there is a need that they have, and they go to, okay, well, we'll do like awareness months, or um, we'll give you more power to and more budget to put on events and put on education and put on awareness for the organization. But are you looking at those different policies and systems that is really going to make an effective change for your employee resource groups? Have you built them out in an effective way where you're going to get really helpful, direct, transparent feedback? And is your leadership ready to take on that feedback? Is your DEI department or your HR leader, whoever's responsible for DEI, resourced well enough to support the employee resource groups? There's so many different dependencies. And if you don't have the right framework in place to look at your organization holistically, it's going to be really tricky and challenging to be able to do that correctly. So you're going to benefit by knowing and learning about this tool and different techniques so you can do this in the right way. You can improve employee retention, you can improve employee engagement, you can have better data driven insights and making decisions that are not so much subjective, they're very objective and data driven. That I think is something that's missing in a lot of different organizations. So I very much appreciate that question. Another question that came up for me was, or to me, was, do I need to have any prior experience with data analysis or DEI to benefit from this masterclass? And the answer is no. You might want to have some familiarity of things that could be helpful to look at as like a prerequisite. So maybe just some familiarity on demographics, representation, things that you might look at in an organization, but you don't have to be a DEI expert or an HR expert. Um, and I'm also going to share like what success looks like in the masterclass as well. So you can look at how you look at data. You can look at the formats that are and techniques that would be helpful for you to be able to ask even the right questions. Give your suggestions based on the feedback and what you've collected in terms of data relating to your building out your inclusive culture. So it's not something that you need to be an expert on. It might be helpful, um, but also just making sure that you have some understanding of it will get you pretty far in this class. So another question that came up, which I love all these questions, was about the structure of the master class. What can you expect in terms of the format? I really do like to make my courses, my classes, my talks as interactive as possible. So it is going to be a combination of a presentation, interactive elements, a case study, and it's going to be really designed to be more engaging and participative. I am not someone, I mean, I like to keep time, so it's going to be about 1 hour. But what I like and what I tell people is that if you have a question, there's going to be a Q&A portion where you can ask questions. And I'm going to be using a technology that's going to allow you to type in your questions so that I can see them at the end as we go along. So it's going to be interactive. It's going to also be a gift at the end that I mentioned if you participate live. And I'm really going to make it as interactive as possible for all of you. Um, Another really good question. This one was like, ooh, I really got to think about this really hard. Is how is this masterclass going to differ from other DEI training programs? Now, a lot of DEI training programs and I think that they are useful. I think that they um I think we tend to go to the same or similar classes without understanding if that's the right approach to start with, or if we are ready for that type of training at that moment. So what's different is a lot of classes are around unconscious bias, learning about systemic racism, learning about what you know, power differentials, all these really good helpful terms, and how we can check our bias and how we can do those different things. But I think what is really different, what I know is very different about this masterclass, is it's leveraging a globally accepted standard for how your organization can leverage this, and how many organizations globally have used this similar standard in practice to be able to fully evaluate their organization and set the right priorities to move the needle in terms of inclusivity for their companies. So what's also different from that is when you do this assessment and you do this full audit, training may not come from that just yet. You might need to collect more data, or you might need to focus a little bit more externally with your external partners. So this is going to give you suggestions for, based on how you input your answers to this assessment, to this audit, it's going to help to give you the right information that's going to be able to get you in the right place and focusing on the right projects at the right time. So it's a different training in that it's not going to focus on teaching you unconscious bias or like going into detail on vocabulary related to DEI. It's more of a unique emphasis on data that's going to help to drive the right initiatives. And that's very different from other trainings that happen in an organization. So I hope that answers that question. But that's really uh, really going to give you more practical decision making and actionable insights as a result. So that's how this is very different from other trainings. All right, two more questions here. The other question was some examples of data-driven DEI initiatives that we'll be discussing. I won't go into a lot of detail. I'll give like a real world case study. I'll also be sharing just different metrics that you should be tracking, different metrics that would be helpful to analyze. So I might talk about things like employee survey data or recruitment programs and analyzing promotion data or uncovering different disparities or metrics. So I'll talk kind of into what you should be evaluating and examples of what success would look like, but I may not go in depth into that as well. So that'll be some examples that I'll share there. And the last question that I got, which I was waiting for this question, so I'm glad this person asked this question, was, is there a cost to attend and what is the time commitment required? This is a free masterclass. I deliberately made this a free masterclass. It's 1 hour. There's no like prerequisite homework or prerequisite courses. It's going to be a 1 hour masterclass on this topic about data-driven inclusion and ways that we can leverage the right tools and techniques to provide more inclusive practices in our organizations. It also brings a little bit more benefits like psychological safety, other things that come with that. And so it's free. It's 1 hour. And again, I know I've mentioned this before, but if you attend live, there's a gift at the end that's really going to be beneficial to many of you. So it's free. You're welcome. It's anybody could attend, free to attend. Again, the prerequisite understanding some pieces about data in an organization when it comes to people data, like promotions and recruitment and other things, will be helpful. Um, but yeah, it'll be a really good time, and I'm very excited about this. I put a ton of work into this, so I'm really looking forward to it with all of you. So, all right, that is the Q&A portion. I appreciated everyone and the questions that they shared during the masterclass, or during this Q&A session. See, my head's already on masterclass. I just want to give masterclass already. But I really appreciate all of you. If you want to reach out to me, I usually share my email, which is courageously inclusive LDR. So L is in Larry, D is in David, R is in Robert at gmail.com. And the next Leading in the Moment that will be coming up will be on July 10th, which I cannot believe we're already in July. I say this every single month that I cannot believe we're in the next month, but time just really flies. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all in the next Leading in the Moment. I'm also looking forward to seeing all of you at the masterclass that is coming up this Friday. So with that, I hope you have a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are. Maybe it's morning, and you're watching this. But looking forward to seeing you all. Have a great day. Until next time, peace.